What's going on, Clipper fans? It's Jonathan Timm here, back with another preseason video for you guys. And just a heads up, we are still looking for host families. So if you or someone you know is interested in hosting a player and making an impact on their life, along with receiving some additional benefits from the Clippers organization as well, please reach out with more information on the Clippers website and any of our social media pages. And hey, we have a special guest on today. It's been an exciting time because now we're really starting to crank things up and returning players are coming back. But one of the players who's fallen maybe under the radar for some people, he was a 4-1 pitcher last year in the 2024 season and helped assist that championship appearance run. He just completed another season at Hillsdale College, and joining us now is Jacob Pop-Out Pallo. I mentioned that because he recorded 9 pop-outs in one of his better starts against the Xenia Scouts this past year. So, Jacob, thank you for the time today. And, what made you want to come back to Clipper Nation for another summer?
Well, I just love the atmosphere that was created out in Muskegon, and like just being close to home too was a big thing for me. Like the league was pretty competitive. There's a lot of good players and just a lot of good people around there. And then also being from Grand Rapids in West Michigan, it was only about a 45-minute drive. So just being able to have like the level of baseball this close to home was just something that you really can't beat. So I loved everything about it last summer, and I thought I'd definitely want to do this again. And it was really big for my development too. Like just being able to get out there consistently and compete every week was something that was really, really important for this year. So.
Before you got to Muskegon after your freshman year of college, returning to Hillsdale was Danny Passanel. Now, Clippers don't like to take too much credit in player developments, but Danny Passanel had put up some significant numbers after his season with the Clippers. Was that something that he talked to you about when you were up and coming as a Charger?
Yeah, I definitely talked to Danny. And after my freshman year at Hillsdale, like I really didn't play too much. I got a couple opportunities and they didn't really go too well. But I talked to Danny and he said, he loved everything that happened in Muskegon. And he was like to this day one of the best outfielders, if not the best outfielder that I've ever played with. He spoke very highly of it, and obviously he's just an awesome dude. So I was like, yeah, like I'm all in. This is awesome and something that I want to do. So
Yeah, and it's great to have that reliable outfield as a pitcher, kind of like a quarterback with his offensive line, and just having that mutual trust that you're gonna each player is gonna do their job to help the team strive at the end of the day. Further us on that. How important is that relationship with your defense?
oh, it's super important. And I definitely noticed it last summer and definitely this year with my college team is I'm not a very high strikeout guy. I don't get a lot of punch outs. So last summer is when I really locked into just filling up the zone and letting my defense make plays. And it changes your whole game once you realize that you don't have to kind of nitpick and you can just trust everyone behind you to make plays. And it's something that's like really important for confidence when you're pitching. So
Yeah, and as I mentioned in that intro, the 12-2 victory over the Xenia Scouts, and where you went 6 innings and only allowed one earned run, but only had one strikeout as well. But you retired 18 batters, 9 of which flew out. And is there a strategy you have in mind at the plate now with that part of the game implemented on trying to just force the weak contact?
yeah, that's something that I really, like I said, last summer and then this summer, or this spring has been really important. Is just I try and attack like the outer third of the zone and the inner third, and just try not to leave anything over the middle. So especially with the wood bat league too, you get a guy in on the hands that might shatter a bat, or you know, you get him off the end of the bat. Stuff like that is super weak contact, and just again letting your defense make plays and not trying to throw too many pitches in that bat. Nitpicking wherever you want in the zone. It changed everything. So
Yeah, I know sometimes with a pitcher's mindset, it can get demoralizing when the bats start to click. And, that was kind of the theme for the start of your sophomore season at Hillsdale. But as the year progressed, I mean, you were putting up some significant numbers and really lowered that ERA and had a very strong finish against Finlay. That performance at Prasco Park, is that something solid you can hang your hat on?
Yeah, that was pretty much like the perfect way to end the season, I think. And I talked about it a lot with my coach, and he just said like you got to be okay giving up hits. Like, and once I realized like, yeah, guys are gonna get hits. Like it's college baseball; these guys are all really good hitters, and you just, yep, like I'm gonna give up hits as part of the game, and just try not to, like I said, get my pitch count too high and throw too many pitches in at bat. But it was something that was like a really awesome way to end the season on. Like it didn't finish the way we wanted to. We lost in extras to Northwood, and they ended up beating us again on the second day. We were just kind of out of pitching, but it was really big for us and for myself too. Like you said earlier in the year, it was took a little bit of getting used to. Like I threw probably 10 innings and gave up probably 9 runs between 3 starts. And, it just wasn't great. Obviously, it was really cold and stuff like that. Getting a feel for the ball wasn't ideal, but just being able to stay confident and not let my last start build on the next one is how I was able to really power through the next, 75% of the season. So,
Yeah, when you take a look at once the calendar hit March, we see an 8 strikeout performance against Lock Haven. Before we talk more about summer baseball, how cool is it to play against Saginaw Valley State and a bunch of your former summer teammates? As we know, all the GLIAC and Upper Midwest
mhm.
conference schools are their Clipper prime times.
Well, it's so much fun, and I think the part that's really fun for me too is just, being from Michigan, and then obviously we play Saginaw in midweeks, Grand Valley in midweeks, and we play Davenport in a midweek. And all my buddies at Hillsdale, not a lot of guys are from Michigan, so we play these schools, and during BP, I'll go over and say hi to my buddies or whatever, and they're like, "How do you know everybody?" And I kind of have to explain to them, like, "Dude, like I'm from Michigan, like I know these guys from summer ball or travel ball or high school ball growing up." And when we played Davenport, it was like, the handshake line after the game, and it was like I pretty much knew every other guy. It felt like, and like we joked before the game, I was talking to JJ, who's one of my good buddies growing up, and we were just saying like it's basically Clippers U. Like every guy that threw against us was on the Clippers, and half the infield was on the Clippers. So it's a lot of fun. It makes the games a lot more fun. You definitely anticipate those a lot. Leading up to it, you're texting the guys on the other teams, and it's always great to see the guys. So
Let's talk more about the summer now that we're, switching gears a little bit. Favorite memory from last summer? I mean, you guys got to play in the championship series. It was an up and down year for sure, and obviously kind of similar to how your college season ended. The shortage of pitching really, it hurt at the end of the season. But let's start with the positives. Some of the best memories you had from the summer of 24.
I think the one that definitely stands out is the Fourth of July game in Lima last summer. It rained all day, so we pushed the game later at night, and we were kind of in that field, which is in that neighborhood. There was a ton of people there, and they were like shooting off fireworks. You could see them in the distance. It kind of felt like the Sandlot. It was really cool. You're playing under the lights, and they're shooting off fireworks, and you're playing baseball on the Fourth of July. It really couldn't get much better than that. So that's one that definitely stands out in my mind. And we put a beat down on Lima, which didn't hurt. That was definitely one that stands out in my mind. That was pretty awesome.
You excited to go back to Lima opening weekend?
Well, I talked to Walt a little bit ago, and he might have not relayed the info, but I'm actually missing about the first half of the summer
Okay.
this summer. Just I got a little banged up in college ball, so my coach just wanted me to take it a little bit light in the month of June and about half of the month of July, and I'll be back mid-July. But always definitely excited to play whoever we play against. Every game feels like you know, it's awesome. You get the 7 o'clock under the lights. Every game feels important. So super excited to get back.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know more than anyone, it's almost more important to have the pitching depth ready to go in later July because the turnover rate in the June-July transition for pitchers in really any summer league is
Mhm.
astronomical because at the end of the day, it's all about keeping the health of especially the pitchers. Um, if I'm a scout, which will attend Prasco Park for the All-Star game, what am I seeing out of you? What's your arsenal, your velocity? Break that down for us.
Well, I mainly fastball, slider, changeup. I don't try and throw too much, but with my fastball, I'm kind of a lower three quarters guy, so I have a lot of run on my fastball, so it's almost like a sinker. And I threw my changeup a lot more this year. It's something that I really worked on and really developed. And I honestly use that as my secondary pitch most of the time instead of my slider. And kind of use the slider as a get me over or strikeout pitch, just something that I didn't want to throw too much, just if I wasn't confident in it. But again, the days that it was really good, I threw that as my secondary pitch. So it kind of just changed start to start. And then velo wise, it's kind of the same as last summer, like kind of mid upper 80s and can get up to a 90 if I just reach back and let it eat. But um, again, just trying to develop my off speed stuff has been super important. Be able to throw those for strikes. So
Now, a part of every pitcher's development is finding a tactic that works and, now explain to us who taught you to pitch, whether it's a coach, a parent, a mentor, and is there someone in particular that you try to model your throwing after?
well, throwing after, not really. I mean, I watch a lot of YouTube videos, but every pitcher's so different, so it's kind of hard to like hone in on one. And I've never been like a big YouTube guy, so can't say I like. I mean, obviously, you want to be like these guys who are studs in the MLB, but growing up, I worked with a guy named Mike Paul. He's a pitching coach over here in Grand Rapids, and he's worked with tons of players. He worked with Batka, I know for sure. Last summer, he was in there a couple times that I was, and just he's really big over here in West Michigan. So I worked with him growing up, and then my high school coaches, Coach Wysocki and Coach Hearn at Forest Hills Eastern, they really helped with my development and stuff like that. So just growing up, having those guys in my life, like really those three, being able to influence me and put me in a positive direction. And I still shoot back to those guys every once in a while and text them and call them. Just keep them up to date. Especially if I have a rough start, I'll say, like they'll just say, "Hey, dude, like keep your head up," stuff like that. So it's pretty awesome just being in touch with those three guys. So
Now, obviously, summer baseball is a great opportunity to, like you mentioned, not only get experience against a wooden bat, but it's a great opportunity to, make some nitpicks and changes to help you develop as a baseball player. Are there any goals that you have in mind for, when you come to Muskegon that you're trying to work on, or achievements that you just want to check off your list in going into the summer season?
yeah, I definitely want to be more consistent in the zone, and that's something that me and my college coach have talked a lot about. I'm sure looking at the starts, you can see some that were really solid and others that were just absolutely terrible. So just being able to be, more consistent with my stuff on a day-to-day basis. It was, I'd have some starts that I threw 70% strikes and others that I was barely over 50%. So just being able to be more consistent with my stuff is something that I really like want to emphasize and move forward with. And obviously velo, like obviously I'd like to add a couple more ticks, but if I can just get my command up, I think it'll be really important and just fine tune things after a long season kind of a thing. So
Now, one thing I really didn't fully realize before arriving to Muskegon to call college level baseball myself was the level of intensity that pitchers have to go through just to warm up for a day-to-day game, or especially the day of a start or an inning out of the bullpen, because the warm-up routine is pretty strenuous, I've seen. What's your pregame ritual, especially on a day where you're on the mound for 5, 6 innings?
For me, I know I'm a lot different than some guys, but I have to be as loose as I can. I can't think a lot about it, and when I do, I kind of overthink things. So I usually try and just stay as loose as I can, and I really don't warm up until about 45 minutes before first pitch. And obviously, I have my uh, static stretching, and then my what's it called? Like just getting loose, running, high knees, all that kind of stuff. But again, it's just something that I try not to get too like focused on it. I stay loose. I talk to all the guys in the bullpen when I'm warming up, and I really don't try and lock it in until I'm or get super zoned in on the game until I'm on the mound getting loose before I head out onto the field and I'm in the bullpen. So, it's like the looser I can stay and like the more relaxed I feel is when I feel like I can go out there and just you know, it sounds cliche, but just being able to have fun and not think too much about it is something that's been really important for me. So,
Yeah, why put any more pressure on yourself when you have to,
mhm,
right?
exactly.
All right, I got one final question for you, and this will be on the fun side as well. Go-to pregame meal. I don't think I've asked a single player this yet. It's always been favorite baseball
Yeah.
player or team, but let's hear it.
Well, in my high school or in my college season, Hillsdale, we don't have a lot of restaurants, so it's a pretty small town. But I always grab a Subway sandwich, especially before road trips. I take that on the bus. I don't know why. I was kind of superstition. It went well one time, so I kind of did that again. And I always grab a Rain energy drink on the days that I throw, and then Nerds clusters, those little gummy
Oh,
things.
classic.
Those, they're probably terrible for you, but I love them. So yeah, that's kind of my
Hey,
go-to. A lot of
we're,
sugar, but
we're still young. Well, once the metabolism slows down, we'll start thinking about it. But
exactly.
but Jacob, thank you for your time today. Congrats on a great sophomore year. Like you said, a quantum leap from freshman year, and we
Mhm.
look forward to seeing what you can bring to the table at good old Marsh Field this summer.
Yeah, can't wait. Thanks, Johnny.
All right, everyone. That was Jacob Pallo, who will be back for the summer of 2025, at least in the later part of the year, which, of course, as fans all know, was important for the pitching in last year. So I'm Jonathan Timm, and thank you all for watching this edition of Muskegon Clippers Baseball Preseason Edition, and we will see you next time.